Last week, I saw something rather odd. I'm standing at a crosswalk, and a woman steps up next to me, and she's sucking her thumb. Grown woman, thumb sucking. And I think, so, it's come to this. Life apparently had become so overwhelming for this woman, she had reverted into a toddler. Now, look, I shouldn't have been surprised. The last couple of years have been rough. We all did what we had to do. You know, some people took up knitting or learned a new language. I ate my body weight in macaroni and cheese. I miss my friends. Especially my friend Jack. Jack is the quintessential Southern California surfer bro. Yeah. He's like a benevolent Neanderthal. Yeah, not an intellectual giant, but he's smart. He's smart in ways that I'm not. You know, I can barely turn on a light, but he can fix pretty much anything. 67, red MG convertible, a late model, Whirlpool, dishwasher, anything. And you can count on him. You can really count on him. Always. And he's got your back. Always. And he's honest. Always. Right before COVID, we're hanging out in my living room, and we're on our phones. He's watching women surfing, of course. And out of the blue, he says, "Dude, mermaids exist." What? That's true. Mermaids are real, dude. Okay. I'll bite. Have you met a mermaid? No. But I saw a documentary on YouTube. Okay. Did it happen to be about a little mermaid named Ariel who liked to sing? You know, I think Jack had this idea, this vision of these hot mermaids swimming around the Pacific, just dying to talk to him. Okay, look, man. Just because we want something to be true doesn't mean it is. When I was 18, my parents sat me down and they told me I was Asian. I know, very traumatic. And then looking back on my childhood, things started to make sense, you know, like why I always was wearing kimonos to middle school, or trying to karate chop the dog, or why I was voted worst driver in the 2nd grade. And I know for a fact half those bitches couldn't parallel park. So I live in California now, but I was born and raised in Montana. And my identity, my self-worth, well, it was shaped by things I saw around me, you know, in books, television, movies. And the things I saw about Asian males wasn't so good. Pulitzer Prize-winning author Viet Thanh Nguyen calls this narrative scarcity. A lack of characters who look like us, but when they do look like us, they're not really human. They're more one-dimensional caricatures. We never got the girl, or the boy, for that matter. We were always the nerd, the geek, the weak, the neutered, or this guy. Yeah, that felt really good. And I submit to you today that my Asian brothers and I are still, for the most part, invisible, interchangeable, and expendable. Asian Americans are the fastest growing minority group in the United States. In my state of California, 40 million, 15% are Asian. That's 3 times as many Asians as black folks in the Golden State. That switches when you talk about national demographics. But despite our growing numbers, we are still pretty much invisible in corporate America, in government, in Hollywood. Leadership coach and author Jane Yoon says something called the bamboo ceiling keeps Asians out of upper management. And only 0.093% of all elected officials in this country are of Asian descent. And in Hollywood, just a fraction of the speaking roles go to Asian actors and advertisers. Actors, well, they think nothing of putting every race and gender into a marketing campaign, but often, well, they exclude the Asian male. But there's one place where we're maybe too visible. The universities. In order to keep the Asian horde from infesting elite campuses with their annoyingly high SAT scores, schools like, I'm not going to name names, Harvard, also evaluate applicants on traits, they call them personality traits, subjectively. And Asian applicants are routinely rated lower than their counterparts on things like ability, courage, kindness, and being widely respected. You know, I think that Harvard's personality trait evaluations would be better used on Congress. Because, well, you know. But what about we the people? Former Secretary of Labor Robert Reich believes that the second Civil War is already happening. We the people are clustering around others who believe like we do and separating from those with whom we disagree. Blue zip codes are getting bluer and redder, and politicians are feeding us a diet of distortions, comfort food, which reinforce our biases and keep us separated. Since when did a result automatically become suspect if it doesn't favor us? Look, dude, just because we want it to be true doesn't mean it is. And it is costing our country something awful. But most grievous is what it's costing you. Young people, they're done with politics. No longer believing that engaging in politics or elections will benefit their lives. And so now, as our democracy is faltering, we have a narrative scarcity of young minds and common sense and unbridled, audacious optimism. I've been thinking about a story I heard a long time ago, 10 years ago. It's about a man in Northern California, retired in the 70s. He loved to hike. In fact, he hiked every day in the mountains right outside of his front door. One day, he's out hiking, comes around a bend, and he runs into a bear and her cub. And he thinks, this is not good. So he just looks at the bear, and the bear looks at him, and he gives the bear a little nod, and then he just backs up very slowly, and he heads in the other direction. About a week later, he's coming into a clearing, and on the other side is the bear and her cub. And he thinks, same drill, well, let's get out of here. But then he hears something behind him. It's a growl. And as he turns his head, he catches sight of a mountain lion flying out of the bush, landing on his back and pushing him to the ground. And this mountain lion's claws are digging into this guy's backpack, and he's saying, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? He's looking all around, and he looks up, and he sees a massive, furry, flying, it's the bear, and she's heading straight for them, and he's thinking, oh, and she's suddenly there. And she's pulling this mountain lion off this guy, tosses it a couple yards away, and then proceeds to go over there and pummel the crap out of it. I don't know how that mountain lion got away, but it did. And then she turned and looked at him. And he looked at her, and she looked at him, and he gave her a little nod, and then she turned and sauntered back to her cub, and together they disappeared into the trees. You know, that bear and that man seemed to have a kind of understanding. Yet we struggle to find any kind of common ground with our own species. Violence against Asian Americans is up 340% since last year, rising even as COVID fades. Now, when I first heard they were attacking Asian Americans, my first thought was, wait, they can see us? My second thought was, it'd be better if they couldn't, because visibility seemed to invite violence, both physical and rhetorical. Why? When unexpected big bad things happen, people want answers. And this is when conspiracy theories are born. Today, in this country, 1 in 5 white Americans believe Asian Americans have something to do with COVID. I never thought I'd be a conspiracy theory, but I got to tell you, it's a huge honor. Thank you so much. I'm super grateful, overwhelmed, a little overwhelmed, but I got to tell you, I don't think I deserve it. After all it took was looking like this. Okay, that's not true. We also had to invent a deadly virus. So, that was also very, very easy. You could do it tonight. You could do it at home. All it takes is one of those Fisher-Price laugh and learn chemistry sets. You'll also need the voice of a mermaid and 150 pounds of macaroni and cheese. I was really happy my parents told me I was Asian, but I wish they'd told me a little sooner. It would have prepared me to become a perpetual foreigner in my own country. And if I ever forget that I'm never going to be everybody's all-American, total strangers will be happy to remind me. Yes, every Asian American has a list of questions or comments that they're frequently asked. Number one on most people's lists is, so where are you from? No, where are you really from? My number two, I've been getting this for a while, is this. Steve, you're really good looking for an Asian. Thank you. What a relief, because everybody knows how heinous Asian brothers are. You know, I don't even know why they let us go outside, quite frankly. Like, there are families, there are people that are eating outside. Excuse me, waiter. Hi. Yeah, my wife and I just ordered lunch, but we're feeling kind of nauseous. Oh, no. An Asian man just walked by. Yeah, you get it. No, she's hyperventilating. Don't worry about that. I am good looking for an Asian man. And the message is, I might not be as interchangeable as the rest of them. And this is supposed to be a compliment. I was riding up an elevator in a hotel one day, and two guys get in their 20s. We get into a convo. And one of the guys said, "Hey, you speak English very good." And I said, "Thanks, man. So do you." But because my mom's an English teacher, and I was feeling a little dickish, I also said, "But good is an adjective, and well is an adverb. So it would be, you speak English very well." And he said, "Thanks, I try." You know, I try too. I try to have a good attitude. I try to have positive personality traits, which will make me widely respected. But sometimes it gets a little hard. Gets a little hard. I've been having this dream lately. I'm trying to climb up this really steep hill. I'm doing okay, but my feet keep slipping on the pedal. And I'm climbing, and I'm determined, and I'm climbing, and I'm determined, and I get a sense that somebody is tracking me, somebody is following me, but never mind that. I have a job to do, so I'm climbing, determined, climbing, determined. I'm moving a little faster now, though. And when I get to the top of the ledge, I scramble over, and suddenly I'm in a field with tall grass. And then I hear that something come over the edge too, and so I start to run. I start to run. But as I'm running, the grass has turned to mud. And I can't move. I'm stuck. And then suddenly that thing, whatever it is, has jumped on my back. And it's pushing me down, down. And as I'm sinking into the mud, I'm not panicked. I just want to know why. Why? Then, in my dream, I am a bear, powerful, full of muscle and sinew and rage, and I am charging at full speed, determined to save myself. In 30 years or so, chances are good I'm not going to be around. And either will my peers. We'll be on a beach in Florida. Meantime, it's come to this. A grown woman sucking her thumb at the crosswalk. And your generation doesn't want anything to do with politics, and I don't blame you. But politicians are thrilled. They are relieved. Because this gives them tacit permission to swindle you out of your future. That's right. By redefining democracy as political tribalism, by continuing to tell you who you can and cannot love, and putting zoning laws on your body. And the grass is turning to mud, people, and no one is coming to your rescue. So you must be determined to save yourselves. Save yourselves. Be visible and indivisible, because democracy isn't interchangeable. Democracy isn't expendable, and either are you. You can fix anything. The words of AIDS activist and author Paul Monette. Now go without hate, but with rage, and heal the world.